Ever been on like a construction site and it just won't stop raining? The work has to go on, right? But how? That's what we're diving into today, this whole world of dewatering technicians.
Yeah.
We found some seriously interesting stuff on RoleCatcher about this. It's a whole career path most people don't even know exists.
It's one of those things,
Yeah,
hidden but so important.
totally. So RoleCatcher, they're a career resource website, right? And they describe these technicians as kind of like guardians of dry ground.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it because it's a mix of technical skills, but also like environmental know-how. Got to make sure those construction sites, industrial sites, even mines stay dry and safe.
Guardians of dry ground, I'm using that. But what does that actually mean day to day? RoleCatcher gets into pumps, pipes, even these high-tech vacuum systems. What's that all about?
Okay, so picture this. You're building something, right?
Yeah,
And bam, you hit groundwater. That's where dewatering comes in.
makes sense.
These technicians, they'll install pumps. Sometimes they're submersibles going right into the water.
Wow.
And those are hooked up to pipes, a whole network of them, to literally lower the water table. Imagine the ground's like a soaked sponge. They got to squeeze some of that out to build.
So it's like controlled flooding almost.
Kind of. It's about precision, though. You're not just getting rid of water. You're controlling the whole water table level.
Huh, I never thought of it like that.
And it's not just construction either. Think about mines. They're always battling groundwater. And industrial plants need to manage their wastewater, runoff, sometimes even hazardous stuff.
So there's an environmental side to this too then.
Big time. You got to understand the environment, the regulations, the whole 9 yards.
Speaking of, RoleCatcher mentions how in demand these technicians are, good pay, but also long hours.
Yeah.
Guess it's not for those who hate their alarm clocks, huh?
Maybe not. And it's not always predictable. Projects run late, emergencies pop up. Keeping things dry doesn't always stick to a 9 to 5.
True, true. So, gotta be adaptable, thrive on a little chaos. But for those who are into that, what's the career path look like? RoleCatcher breaks it down by experience from entry level all the way to running big projects.
Exactly. There's a whole ladder to climb. You might start assisting, like with pump installation or fitting pipes, learning for the more experienced folks.
Right. Paying your dues.
Then as you become junior level, you're probably doing those tasks solo, doing some basic troubleshooting, getting familiar with all the different systems.
Hands-on, building that experience. Then what?
That's where it gets interesting. Senior dewatering technician, you could be leading projects, dealing with the complex stuff, even training newcomers. You're the go-to expert when things get tough.
That's a lot of responsibility, but also sounds pretty rewarding. From assisting to leading, you're really making a difference in these projects.
You got it. And eventually you could become a lead dewatering technician, overseeing multiple projects, managing budgets, the whole shebang. It's leadership, not just technical stuff, but communication, organization, problem solving.
It's like that saying, start by carrying the tools, end up running the show. But, okay, let's get real. What are some of those tough problems a senior technician might face? RoleCatcher mentions troubleshooting systems as a key skill.
Oh, for sure. Imagine this. You're on a deadline, everything's got to be done yesterday, and the dewatering system just acts up. Pump fails, pipe bursts, groundwater flow changes, all hands on deck, got to think fast.
So it's not just knowing how to fix a problem, but figuring out which thing went wrong in the first place.
You got it. That's where a calm head and a systematic approach are key. You got to understand the whole system, how it all fits together.
Like being a water detective.
Exactly.
You've got to find the clues, analyze the scene, and hopefully prevent it from happening again.
Right. And you can't forget about the environmental responsibility that comes with a job like this. You're dealing with water, sometimes even hazardous materials.
That's true. So it's not just about getting the water out, but making sure it's managed responsibly. Protecting the environment around these projects is a big deal.
Absolutely. In fact, one of the interview questions RoleCatcher highlights is all about making sure these dewatering systems meet environmental regulations. They want to know you're not just focused on getting the job done, but doing it the right way.
It's a lot more than just pumps and pipes, isn't it? It's this whole environmental awareness thing, too. What does that look like practically, though?
Well, you've got construction sites, mines, industrial facilities. They all have wastewater. And a dewatering technician, they're not just getting rid of it, they need to know how to handle it safely.
Right, following those environmental rules.
Exactly. Think about it. They might be putting in silt fences so the sediment doesn't just run off, or taking water samples for testing, maybe even setting up whole treatment systems. It's a big responsibility.
So they're managing the water on the site, but also protecting the water around it. That's pretty important.
For sure. And that ties into something else RoleCatcher mentions, staying up to date. Like, the tech is always changing in this field, right? They're talking about automation and dewatering, which I find fascinating.
Oh, yeah, I bet. Everything's getting high-tech these days. What kind of advancements are we talking about specifically?
Well, think sensors and monitoring systems, but way more advanced. They're getting real-time data on the groundwater levels, how fast it's flowing, even the water quality. And get this, that data can then be used to automatically control the whole system.
No way. So instead of someone having to check gauges and stuff manually, the system kind of adjusts itself.
You got it. There are even systems in development using AI, artificial intelligence, to actually predict problems before they happen. It's pretty wild.
Wow. Okay, so robots are going to be taking over dewatering then.
That's the question, isn't it? And while automation is definitely changing things, I don't think human experts are going anywhere soon. Someone still needs to design those systems, install them, maintain them, and fix them when they go wrong.
True. Plus, every site's different, right? You'd need a human to figure out those unique challenges.
Exactly. Robots can follow instructions, but they're not great at coming up with solutions on the fly. That's where those human skills come in. Communication, teamwork, critical thinking. That's what makes a great dewatering technician.
Okay, so we've talked about the skills, the challenges, the environmental side, even the future. But how does someone actually land one of these jobs?
Well, RoleCatcher is awesome for that. They've got sample resumes, interview tips, the whole 9 yards.
They also have that section on interview questions, which honestly, some of them are really thought-provoking.
Right. Like, one that stuck out to me was about troubleshooting a malfunctioning dewatering system. It's a classic, but it really makes you think on your feet.
It's one thing to know the textbook answer. It's another to explain how you'd handle it in the real world.
Totally. They want to see you understand the system as a whole.
Hmm.
Like, how would you even begin to figure out what went wrong? What steps would you take? What safety stuff do you need to keep in mind? It's about showing that clear, logical thinking.
Like we said before, that water detective work.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask questions if you're not sure about something. Employers appreciate honesty and that willingness to learn.
It's showing them you can handle whatever comes up, even if you don't have all the answers memorized. So what else are they looking for besides those technical chops?
Well, remember that other question about environmental regulations.
Yeah.
They really want to know you're taking that responsibility seriously.
Right.
Like, picture this. You're in the interview, and they ask, how would you make sure a dewatering system meets all the environmental standards? What comes to mind?
Well, I'd want to show them I get it, that it's about protecting the environment. So I'd probably talk about disposing of the wastewater properly, making sure the soil doesn't erode, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And maybe even mentioning specific techniques that are, like, eco-friendlier.
Oh, good point. Show them you've really thought about it.
Exactly. It's
Okay.
connecting the dots between the technical stuff and the bigger picture.
Responsibility, knowledge, doing things right. I like it. I always learn so much on these deep dives, and this one's been seriously interesting.
Me too. It's such a hidden gem of a career path.
It is. So for our listeners who are now thinking, hey, maybe I want to be a dewatering technician, where should they go?
RoleCatcher.com is the place to start. We've said it before, but they have so much info, job postings, those interview prep things we talked about. It's all right there.
One-stop shop. And as we wrap up here, one thing really sticks out to me. Yeah, we talked about automation changing the game.
Right.
But at the end of the day, this field is about people. Those skilled technicians out there solving problems, keeping projects dry, literally.
Absolutely. Tech helps, but it's the human element that makes it all work.
So, to everyone listening, if you want a career that's challenging, rewarding, where you can use your brain and your hands, maybe dewatering technician is your calling.
And check out RoleCatcher. They'll help you get there.
Exactly. Go explore, see what's out there. Who knows, next time it pours, you could be the one keeping the world building. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.